Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody's doing okay this evening. Let me go ahead and greet the chat. Okay, that's weird, having almost 60 people already before the stream truly starts. All right. Might as well greet the chat while it's small. Hello, Dominic. Hello, Grim. Jack. Izukel. Honesto. So Random. The Goat King 789. Cheesecake Bunny. Phoenix Heart. Yowl Hunter. Bjorn Jorgensen, Dinkside Phil, Shinobi1, Miss Anthropony, The Shadow Channel, Stephen Queen, Craig Bloxham, One of None, Noroski Quartza, Papa Hud 69, Jesse Guarardo, MJ Zilla 1954, Squeak Up, Autistic Rider, Taylor Clark, Avatar Machiru, Karisu Furo, Necron 2112, Summertime Deathbed. Let's see here. Anybody else? Headbanger 142. Princess Summer. Oh, goodness. SHD. Hello. Captain. Oh, come on now. Lucky ABX. Taylor Clark. David Fortin. Venkman. Hey, Venkman. Jessica Harry. Good They Them. Toku Prime. Autobot Starscream. Tani Nasser. SD, Leandro Boshkoverev. Sure, I butchered that name. Vintage Wee Baby 2. John Caulfield. Trent Jerome. Dom Actually. Jonathan 702. Let's see here. Brian Dillingham. Cadno 2099. Silver Fox and K is my name. Alright, so we have a bunch of people previously asking what this is all about. So I'll explain. Thank you for the super chat, One of None. Just want to say, love what you do. Well, I'm glad you do. Am I alone this time? For part of this, I will be. Not for the entirety. I think Coyote plans on popping in. We'll see. Hey, kiddo. For those of you who do not not aware, last week, Mama Max, a pretty well-known child predator hunter on YouTube, released a video called Pick a Side YouTube, essentially. And his point is that a lot of content creators that cover these type of topics get censored by YouTube for one reason or another. And we're going to go over his video. And when we go over his video, I want you to be aware I'm not here to essentially crap on him. If Coyote or Sarah hop in, their take might be different. I don't know. We'll see. I'm here to be constructive. I am here to make recommendations. And I'm here to give my thoughts on this. For those of you who may not know, I've done predator hunting for close to 4 years now. There's a lot of trials and tribulations when it comes to that, and the majority of it isn't even from YouTube, on my end. Mama Max is better at this than I am. Going to go ahead and say that out loud. He has better resources, a lot of support behind him that I don't have. I am very fond of the fact that he's able to do this, and I'm glad he is. I know that it's very trying in a lot of different manner, in a lot of different ways. It's trying physically, emotionally, even spiritually. Studio needing more. I want you to pay very close attention to my tone here. I'm not playing with you when I say you and I need to have a conversation. I recommend that at some time during or after the stream, you hit me up on Twitter so we can have a nice little chat. Hello, Cass Warfox. So, essentially what his video came down and said is YouTube needs to pick a side between predators and children. And one can extrapolate a lot from that, but we're going to go through this and we're going to take a look at it. And I'm not going to do what other commentators are, because I'm not a commentator, I'm just a dude. Taylor Clark, I have a new Twitter up. So it's been that way for a while. Hey, Ethan Michael Clark. Or Ethan Michael Crane. So what we're going to do, just be aware, I'm not part of what's called the commentary community, so my take is going to be a little more nuanced, and I'm not just going to be here to give a hot take. I don't do hot takes. I prefer my takes to be measured. It's one reason why I'm so behind the curve on a lot of trends and whatnot, because I don't cover them immediately. I know it's probably smart for the algorithm, probably smart for revenue, but I'd rather, like I said in the conversation I had with Junkie, I would rather have correct information than fast information. So we're going to go ahead and start this video, and For those of you who may struggle with audio, let me know, and I'll try to adjust it as we go. Oh, hold on. I should probably turn the audio on, huh? Stupid. Let's go ahead and do this again. Sorry about that. I muted when I was doing the beginning soon.
On November 26, 2021, my good friend Max published a video exposing the colossal pedo ring that is IMVU, where he uncovered one particularly inveterate child predator, known in-game as Pablo Sunny, a pedophile with an extensive history of grooming multiple teenage girls. And to no one's surprise, YouTube tore it down like none of it ever happened. The fickle thing about it, though, is that the video was cut and censored in accordance with the community guidelines, manually reviewed by your staff in order for the family-friendly shell that remained to be available on your platform, even if age-restricted. I myself have personally seen the entire video, and there is not one timestamp you can find that does anything even remotely illicit, especially compared to the categorical obscenities that already plague YouTube. And for what? Because of the bare ass of a virtual character.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and comment on that. I have some suspicions. I have some suspicions on why this is, and I might get into it a little bit later. But YouTube's inability to be consistent in how they moderate and how they censor videos or how they bring them down is asinine. Context. Okay, so what we have here is a virtual character, right? Virtual character. Granted, it's not 2D. It's 3D animated. It's done by rigging and various different things. But still fictional, right? In this case. You can go look at the Dragon Ball GT opening in English. Or not English, the Japanese version. Right now on YouTube. On multiple different accounts, multiple uploads, where you have Child Son Goku running around with his pee-pee out. Kid character, by the way. Not a single time have any of those been restricted. But this did. This did. Isn't that interesting? Let's continue.
Is this a joke?
And if I have anybody arguing with me that seeing a bare man butt is somehow, like, worse than seeing small child pee-pee, find a way out of here, because you ain't gonna like talking to me.
Max documenting this formerly unknown behavior in a 90-minute documentary about the horrors of...
Okay, so he had a DM with Team YouTube. It says, following up, after review, we determined your video violates our community guidelines. Explicit content meant to be sexually gratifying is not allowed on YouTube. Really? Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting?
Pedophilia and child sexual abuse in IMVU is somehow sexually gratifying to you? Everything was perfectly fine for the first half-fucking million people who watched it, but the very second Team YouTube watches it. Interesting. We tried resolving it with you peacefully, but you were unwilling to budge like the apologist you allegedly are. And Max has had enough.
Just fucking kidding.
Okay, so obviously he's going to go for the theatric. He's a YouTube channel. To a point I don't expect otherwise. Okay, I'll have to take a look at that later. Yaoi is based in pedo is cringe. I'll agree pedo is cringed. I don't really look at pornography, so let's see here. Naked yoga videos exist on a platform though, and family prank channels and textual content, so I find it bullcrap to take a video down for another. Yeah, same. And we're not here to talk about Lindsay, guys, so we can have that discussion somewhere else. Let me see here. All right, continuing. You know, somebody actually had to explain to me that all like these costumes and things came from a video game because I had no clue. It's kind of a weird choice, but if that's their thing, that's their thing, I suppose.
How many bloody times do we have to do this dance? You fuck with us, we fuck with you, and history repeats itself. Whether it's intentional.
Yes. Yes. It repeats itself, and we're going to go into why that is here a little bit later, because I want to try to get through this video.
Or not, you endlessly punish those of us who create content in response to injustice, speaking up for victims like children and pursuing the perpetrators like pedophiles. It is volatile, intense, disturbing, upsetting, raw, and real. Because that is the subject matter it is covering, and that is the way it should be covered. As my audience, many of whom are CSA survivors, have instructed me to do. But no matter how vital the video may be to them, you take down our shit and continue to help absolutely no one besides the evil people we are trying to expose, and the survivors continue to scream in agonizing silence. But maybe that's the way you like it. I will let my colleagues take a more measured and balanced approach to.
Okay, I don't know if this is actually Mama Max's normal voice, or if maybe this is just something he puts on for theatrics. I have no clue, because there's a lot of people who think Misanthropony, his voice is theatrics. That's literally how he sounds. He literally talks like this.
To this discussion, and despite all of the conflictualities you're about to see, you'll notice that there's one thing that does bring us all together. We don't like pedophiles. Something you don't seem to see eye to eye with us on YouTube.
Okay, so again, I get the vibe he's going for. I understand this. But in a situation like this, if this is not your real voice, which I had a couple people saying that it's not, you need to use your real voice. For two reasons. Number one, to those who are your audience, it's going to give them the immediate shift, right? If you go from talking like this to talking in your normal voice, boom, boom. It immediately gets their attention. It immediately shifts the tone from this is a video that covers somebody for education, entertainment to a point, and to expose them to there's a problem here. It's a problem here. And I hate to use this as an example because I'm not really fond of the channel, but oddly enough, Matt Pat at Game Theory has a pretty good citizen Brad himself. Like, when he starts a video that's normal entertainment, like, hey there, internet! You know, he starts with the whole theatrics, his goofy voice, whatever. But when he needs to talk about a serious situation, what does he do? Well, he opens on that couch, he's very measured, he's very calm, he doesn't do the theatrics. That's, I think, one of the better approaches for stuff like this. Now, I'm not going to go through all these other content creators for two reasons. Number one, they're talking about a variety of different subject matters that they talk about, anything from death to, I believe, creepypastas to, of course, outing predators on a public platform. And while I do understand they all deal with these struggles, and I believe I know the real reason for that, that's their main point isn't, I believe, that YouTube protects these predators. So we're going to get into that. So let me see if I can skip through this. I think some of the people he decided to use here are probably not the best. And I'm not saying that as I skip here to try to make a point. I want to get to the meat here, the real meat. Inside of mine, huh? The right opinion. Thomathan Turkey. I know I'm skipping through quite a large part from the video, but I'm trying to get to what Mama Max is saying. Let's see here. All right. Oh boy.
I could not agree more, my friends. but I'm worried that all of your wise words will go to waste if no one sees this.
Read the text screen he put in front on YouTube or compilation. I saw. Not everybody knew what he was doing, but from what I saw, it seems like they had a vague understanding. And I don't exactly see all these people coming out saying, well, you lied to us and I don't like this. Granted, they might. I haven't seen all of them. I don't follow the majority of these people for various different reasons.
So let's all go ahead and forcefully drag everyone down with us.
This might just be like me, but I wonder if that katana that the Panther guy is holding is real or if it's a stainless steel prop. But that's just my obsessiveness.
Starting with the following people. Susan Wojcicki.
Susan, for the record, is far from my favorite person. If I were to give you my real, unadulterated opinion about how I think this should be handled, they'd deplatform me immediately. Immediately. Despite how small my channel is, they would deplatform me immediately, so I'm not going to.
Stop fucking lying to us every time you have to give a statement in response to videos like mine.
I'll agree with that. Susan Wojcicki is 100% corporate butt licker. She does not actually care about this platform. She cares about sponsorship. She cares about ad revenue. And she cares about people being able to commercialize their stuff. It's why YouTube moved from an indie platform to more mainstream. We're going to bring CNN. We're going to bring Fox News and all these other people on. And we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
All these broken promises you've made that never come into fruition. All of these incessant changes that...
Yeah, I love the fact that they tried to play pretend that removing the dislikes was for the good of the community. No, it's not. It's because corporations know that if their stuff gets a bunch of dislikes, sponsors aren't going to want to promote them. Especially if that's up in front. Because a lot of these people who do advertisements, they don't do that deep of a look into it. They just see what traffic they get. They don't see if it's good or bad. Not to that extent. So when they do hop on, or rather they don't dig deep. So when they hop on and they see a massive dislike, they don't want to put their ad on it. Of course they don't. I mean, I don't know who they think they're fooling. Granted, YouTube's dumb, and the people who run it are dumb, and the people who work for it are dumb. It's a platform put together by duct tape, glue, and thoughts and prayers that don't go anywhere because they're not praying to God. They're praying to Susan Wojcicki. So
no one ever asked for or wanted.
Now, Turkey Tom's an interesting character, but he's also young. I expect him to grow up sooner or later. We'll see.
Take some goddamn accountability.
She won't.
We are so sick of seeing the malicious and deceitful words you and your company repeatedly propagate. Either do something good for this site once in your fruitless life, or step the fuck down.
She's not going to. And again, once we're done with the whole video, I'm going to tell you exactly what my in-depth thoughts are and what I think should be done.
Philip DeFranco. Remember when you and your team ignored us last time during the whole Answer Us PedoTube thing because you were too busy talking about some stupid drama? I know I'm not as famous as you would like, but how...
The problem that he's making towards Shane Dawson, I get where he's coming from. I do. I 100% do. He's frustrated that Shane does not talk about more important things. But that's also the fallacy of relative privation. Shane, unfortunately, is not under any obligation to speak out about the things you want him to. And again, I'll go into more of my thoughts here once all this goes down. I'm just making little notes as I do.
How about you do the right thing this time and fucking say something? I know you're on break, so it would mean even more to me for you to actually do something this time around. Ethan Klein. I was told you talked to someone at YouTube for me last time. Thank you so much for that. I know you're busy dealing with important shit, but I'm gonna ask that you take a minute to speak to YouTube again for me. Privately is fine. Publicly would be better. Follow me back if you want details. Keemstar.
Oh boy.
You are always my fucking man when it comes to this shit.
Just so you're aware, I'm not a fan of Keemstar. Never really have been. I retweeted his video after he did the short response he did, because while I don't like him and I heavily disagree with him on a lot of aspects, I agree with him on that, and regardless of how else I feel about him, I'm going to agree when I agree, regardless of who the person is.
As a loving father, I know you won't let me down. Scarce. Thanks so much for covering my story last time, brother. I desperately call upon you for help once again. It would mean the world to me. Charlie, I look up to you because you're a good man. You stand up for what's right and speak out in defense of all of us smaller than you. But it is my regret to inform you that your video talking with the CEO of YouTube has aged like milk. So I'm going to kindly ask for your help once again. Chris Hansen.
Oh boy.
People kept telling me not to talk to you, but you were one of the first of us. And although you screwed the fucking pooch, I'm willing to forgive you if you speak up for us. I know you've got some connections that Susan can't ignore. I tried reaching out to you, but you ignored me. So now my audience will do it for me.
I don't think it's necessarily true they ignored you. Twitter's a very strange creature. Very strange creature. There are times I'll have people message me, and I won't see it for weeks, and it won't even give me the message request thing for like weeks, and then I feel like a dick.
Shane Dawson, I know you've done a lot of fucked up shit in the past, and you don't really deserve everyone's forgiveness.
Yeah, this guy can stay gone. This guy can stay gone. Shane Dawson can stay gone forever.
But since you're one of the biggest creators in our genre, standing up for what's right instead of wasting time on haunted houses would finally make you look good to the public once again. This is your chance to redeem yourself. Don't squander it.
He will.
Corpse.
Oh boy.
I know you have nothing to do with this, but with all of your power, influence, and the favor you owe me, I just couldn't help myself. So, remember when you reached out after years of not speaking to me while I was at the hospital tending to my sick girlfriend, and you kept trying to rush me home to do you a huge favor?
Whoa. I hope you're good with whatever you're with. It's my girl. She'll be okay, but thank you guys. I don't want to rush you, but I kind of need this done soon. Could you leave and come back? Could you leave your girlfriend who's in the hospital to do something YouTube related for me, then come back? You know, I don't like Corpse Husband because I'm not a teenage girl. There's nothing about him I find appealing. His voice is more try-hard than Mama Max on his best day. Yeah, I'd just tell him to go stick it somewhere. That's what I'd do. Again, I'm not a I had to explain I had to explain this to Grim because Grim's a boomer like I am. Corpse is essentially the male version of an e-girl. So, yeah, I get it. Corpse has a large following of highly impressionable teenage people with very little going on in their lives, but you don't need a teenage army. You need adults to handle stuff like this.
And then you threw me under the bus for something you did, and at the same time acted like you were
Let's see here. Trigger warning, R slur. Can you please address the video from 2017? Are you kidding me? Mama Max's channel where you said the R slur, timestamp roughly 123. Mama Max says it shortly before then. Hi, I wanted to address this as soon as I could. A little over 4 years ago when I was 19, I said the R word in a video I was featured in. I was reading off a script I did not write. However, I will take full accountability and say I chose to read it. I wish my life was so simple. This is what upset me. I wish my life was so simple that my crusades were about whether or not somebody said a word in a video I didn't like. How conflict-free do these people live? It's ridiculous. Let's see. The severity behind the... Had I known the severity behind the word at the time, I would not have said it or chosen to do that. I am sorry for using it. I know not to use that word now, and have for a while now. For full clarity, I do not support usage of that word. I have reached out to Mama Max, who is the creator who owns the video, and he takes full accountability and offers his sincerest apologies as well. We will take the video down. Once again, I am sorry. I hope this puts people who were affected by this at ease. You could just edit the thing. So doggone stupid.
taking full responsibility for it, but I let you do it because I thought you were...
Let's see here. How's the worldwide attention treating you? Why does he have all this blocked out? You're doing a fine job, bro. You get any time to relax? I'm about the size you were when we first met, and I'm grateful to be here. You got any advice? Well, let me ask you like this. How did you get to where you are now? Why is all this redacted? Huh. That's weird. I wonder why that's all redacted.
You're gonna be my friend like you used to be, and then you stopped talking to me immediately after you were done using me. Yeah. So, how about you do me the fucking favor this time and talk about something besides yourself for once? It will give you a good look. I promise.
Of course, it's not real.
Oh,
Whatever.
yes. If I have to start shit with every influencer in this goddamned planet just to make anyone give even a slight fuck, so be it. I'd rather have the whole world hate me than ever hear a child's voice being silenced again.
I like that energy. I feel that. And I have no problem starting trouble with anybody I need to get something done. But again, there's I believe, more reasonable ways to do this and more effective ones, and we will go over that very shortly because we only got a few minutes left on this video. Since Michael is here, and I know he missed the beginning of the stream, this individual is bringing up, Michael, YouTube's inability to properly regulate itself, and it essentially silences people who expose predators and lets other people run around free. You've dealt with YouTube's reporting system being used by nefarious individuals to try to silence you before, so I'm sure you'll understand that.
If anyone wants to react to this video, my content is free for you to make as much money off of it in whatever way you wish. I do
It isn't about the money. It's about sending a message.
not give a shit. Bad press, good press. I just want to finally see some justice done for the victims in my videos.
That's something I see a lot of people misrepresent in this video. Well, he doesn't care if he gets good press or bad press so long as he gets attention. No, that's not what he said. He said good press, bad press, so long as he doesn't have to hear, essentially, victims being silenced again. Which, hey, I'm there for that too. Trust me, I get demonized all over the place because Lio Man bad. But to that point, and I've said this before, when I've done predator hunting, it was never to elevate myself, never to heap worship upon myself. If I was exposing these predators and no one knew my name, I would sleep just fine.
So, again, I'm gonna have to upset all of my fellow creators and make a goddamn disaster out of you, YouTube, because you never do anything until we start squeezing your balls.
I'm going to comment on this too. Don't worry.
And this is the part where you come in.
Oh boy.
Children, the links are in the description. I kindly ask you to come with me to make a fucking mess for the second time. I want you to pace this bitch until the world is nauseous from looking at it. I want you to drown out every trending topic so that even something like Spider-Man looks like a microscopic speck of dust compared to us. And tonight, YouTube will choose. Let die the pedophiles they love, or suffer the little children. And by the end of the night, I want Twitter to be a shitstorm.
Okay, so a few things here. Let me go ahead and answer some things in the chat here. Lio, when you hunted down predators, how did you take them down without them setting off personal nukes? I didn't worry about that. And here's where my video, my live stream, gets demonetized. My value is, and always has been, the moment a predator tells me, if this gets out, I'll kill myself, my answer is do it. And I know that sounds cruel. I know that sounds heartless. But I'm not stupid either. Not a single one of them have done it. It's a manipulation tactic. They think if they prey on your sense of morality and your sense of empathy, that you will not go through with what you need to do. Because they've done it to other people and it's worked on them. It does not work on me. Not only will I tell you to do it, I'll give you options. Because I have no pity for them. I will sit in calls. I will go to people. I will help them in any way I can. If they are struggling with suicidal ideation, I will do what I need to help them. That stops the minute I find out you preyed on kids, or the minute you preyed on animals, or preyed on anybody else in a sexual manner. We're done with that. Who is your personal Schwarzenegger when you hunted predators? Me. Okay. There's a lot of misconstrued ideas about this video. He's being hyperbolic when he says that YouTube loves predators. Hyperbolic. It's not an accusation. I see a lot of people who have said, well, he's accusing YouTube of supporting predators. They are in an indirect way. So that statement would not be untrue. But he's being hyperbolic for a reason. Now I'm going to go into why. Here's why I think these larger channels that cover what they call darker topics wind up dealing with this nonsense. It's the advertisers. It's the advertisers. Because these larger videos are advertised and they're done by individual content creators, and that scares the living daylights out of advertisers. And what do I mean by that? Because, CNBC, CNN, Fox News, they cover horrendous stuff all the time. All the time. Advertisers love them. That's because those sites, those news networks, operate under very specific guidelines. They are tracked by the FCC. There are things they can and cannot say. So an advertiser can put stuff on there knowing that certain lines won't be crossed. You can't do that with an individual. You can't. You cannot. Corpse, all these other people, they can cuss, they can make lewd imagery, they can make lewd expressions. You can't do that on national news networks. You can't. So, YouTube, in their absurd chase to become more corporate, more mainstream, because it makes them more money, because it attracts more advertisers, they don't care. They don't care. Because it doesn't make them money. If Mama Max's channel got taken down tomorrow, YouTube wouldn't miss a beat. And for those of you asking, well, why don't they just move to another platform? Because these larger channels, this is how they make their living. That's why they don't. Because then it affects their income. And I'm not going to begrudge them that. I think that doing YouTube full-time is a questionable thing for a lot of people. If you can do it, by all means, if that fulfills you. But I believe there are some people that put all their eggs in one basket with no real other life experience. I mean, how many times have you heard, well, my channel's going down, I need to get a job, and I don't have any work experience, and they're in their mid-20s. I mean, it's embarrassing. So, Lio, you angry old man who's criticizing bigger YouTubers, what do you think should be done? Because I know that's going to happen. You can't criticize these people unless you have a better idea. Well, I do have a better idea. It's an unpleasant one, though. Very unpleasant. I can't give you 100% my opinion here because, again, I'd be deplatformed because Lio Man is violent by nature. Violent by nature because I'm an aggressive individual. But here's what needs to happen. YouTube is not going to care about a hashtag. And their advertisers aren't going to care about a hashtag. Because it's the advertisers you need to talk to if you want to do something about this. They're the ones you need to rattle. Because that's what's going to get YouTube's attention. Bring up their inconsistencies. And some people keep comparing this to that Matt guy. Who did target advertisers. But target advertisers for things that are kind of asinine too. YouTube isn't magically going to know that child predators are using like kids' videos with timestamps to satisfy their desires. They're not going to. They have no clue about that. These people were literally using code. And I don't mean like digital code. I mean like verbal and typed code to communicate with each other. You have to look into that. YouTube doesn't do that. They don't have the infrastructure for it by their choice. I had a person tell me years ago, well, I don't think YouTube makes any money. Of course they make money. If they did not make money, YouTube would not exist. A corporation's never going to continue to sink millions in a platform that does not make money. Are you stupid? So, YouTube's going to ignore it. Because one of the worst forms of activism, and I'm not saying this to be mean, I really don't. I understand there is some of this. It does take a lot of work, a lot of mental strain, but one of the worst versions of activism is online activism. Because all you're doing is tweeting at people, and they can ignore that. You want to raise a ruckus? Show up at their headquarters. Form a picket line. Make things rough for people who work in there. Make them uncomfortable. Slacktivism, correct manga comment. You make those idiots uncomfortable. You make it to where they know they're going to have a struggle emotionally to get to work. You know, that might do something. YouTube needs better infrastructure. That's what that all comes down to. Some of it's performative, don't call me back. Some of it isn't. Performative, I have to assess on a person-by-person basis. There are some people that the best they can do is online. You have disabled people. They can't get out there. So I'm not going to call what they're doing slacktivism. It's all subjective based on an individual's ability. Just like I wouldn't get mad at a person who's a paraplegic and, well, why aren't you in that foot race? Well, that's kind of stupid. Okay, Gestapo, I don't know. People would have to stop using YouTube. I don't necessarily think that's true, but we'd have to make them uncomfortable. We'd have to make them uncomfortable on a personal level. There's something that was said last year that I'm going to go ahead and quote here, and you can take it however you want to. It's going to be a very rough day when people realize they can cyberbully politicians. Because guys, why do you think they're so scared of people knowing where they are? These people live comfortably. Susan Wojcicki doesn't have to log on to the internet for the rest of her life, and she's set. That's the truth of the matter. You make her uncomfortable where she is, and I don't mean harassment. I do not mean anything like that. So if any of you clowns try to twist this out of my way, if any of you try to clip and ship this and say, well, Lio supports harassing people, no. There's a difference between harassment and criticism. What's the difference? Well, what does they always say to do? Write your congressman, call your congressman. You can apply that to other things. You don't have to be a douche about it. But people respond when they start getting letters. Okay, Gestapo, that's interesting and horrifying. I'm glad I've never seen it. The issue is there's no alternative YouTube. Yeah, we have things like Twitch, but Twitch is arguably even worse. That is a problem, but you're not going to have anybody innovate one. And the reason why you're not going to have anybody innovate one is because so many people on YouTube cover things that are copyright related, things that belong to other people, and those companies are vicious. Are vicious. What I mean by that, let's put it this way. The guy who does all of the copyright strikes for Warner Brothers has actively gone and taken down other things that do not fall under the purview of Warner Brothers, and he meets with no resistance. They do what they want because they know smaller content creators cannot fight them in court. It's an absolute abuse of power. That's why nobody's going to make an alternative. They do not have the legal means to back it. Whereas YouTube, these corporations work hand in hand with them, and they balance out. Sometimes for the good, sometimes not for the good. Warner Brothers is a piece of garbage, but Viacom's even worse. And DreamWorks is worse than both of them. One of the things I started with on YouTube was covering Legendary Defender. I had to take those videos down because it did not fall under quote-unquote fair use via DreamWorks, even though I didn't break any of that. And they didn't care. Toei is a different creature because they exist overseas, but again, they operate with impunity. Do you agree that this like what button was removed for companies' benefit? Absolutely. Without question. Without question. As YouTube continues to corporatize, as they continue to try to become a platform that is more interested in the corporate than they are the individual, this is going to get worse. And having worked for multiple corporations, the only thing that gets their attention and forces them to change is when you attack their wallet. Here, let me ask you. Everybody here works a job that has some aspect of safety. You want to know why they have safety meetings with you and why they put signs up and why they tell you all this stuff? Well, if you pay attention, they don't actually follow them. Go ahead and put a 2 in chat. If you've ever been asked to do something unsafe at work, and you know what? I'll go ahead and start it. There. And I'll wait. Yeah. And yet, see all these 2s? And yet every single one of them has notes all over the place saying, safety first, safety this. The reason why that exists isn't because they actually want you to be safe. It's so when you get hurt, they can say, well, we have all these safety notifications. I don't know why he did that. He should have told somebody it wasn't safe. It's to put the onus on you, not them. So they have something to point to say, hey, we told them not to, even though they'll put all sorts of pressure on you to do that unsafe thing. They don't care. So that's how you hit them. You hit them in their wallet. You want to get YouTube's attention, you cause them real-life distress, and you cause pressure to be put on their advertisers. You find out who they are, and you start talking openly about it. Because people say there's no such thing as bad press. Advertisers disagree. They disagree heavily. That's why they're so adamant to protect their brands. And you can even see this in smaller things. Like, let's take, because I know it pretty well, Super 7, for example. The toy manufacturer Super 7. The moment Dragon Soul put out his review of the Ultimates Raphael, before anybody else got a copy in hand, what did Brian do? Brian ran to his video, started accusing him of buying bootlegs, that it wasn't a real product. And when the dude actively went to the store, Polyphony, the Chinese distributor for Super 7's brands, and showed in the window that they had those toys on hand, Brian never offered an apology. He never cared. He never cared. He wasn't concerned with the truth. He was concerned with trying to protect his brand from something negative. That's how you deal with it. You find out who they are. And you send them polite, emphasis on that. And if I'm saying that, you know I mean it. Hey, why are we inconsistent here? What do you think about YouTube and how it creates smaller content creators? Ask them. See how they respond. And I know there are a lot of people who are going to disagree with that because they're like, well, that might cause another apocalypse. It might. It might. But at the same time, guys, do you want change or do you not want it? And sometimes change may be good. Sometimes change may be bad. The problem is YouTube always chooses the worst possible way. If you take a look at it, you want to know why COPPA had to be put into effect? Because YouTube was not doing their job. I'm sorry. You all know how I feel about the government. The answer is negatively. And I don't care who's in office. The answer is negatively. If you are doing so poorly that a worse group has to come and slap you, you're not doing your job. They put themselves in that corner because they do not want to invest in the infrastructure. They do not want to invest in real live people to talk to. So, you want to cause change? You cause a ruckus at their actual HQ via protests and picketing, and keep it on topic for the love of God. There are a lot of things you could argue against with YouTube. There's a lot of things you can come at them about. If you guys have a protest there, and it goes from, YouTube has bad policies and needs better infrastructure and supports the wrong people, to YouTube allows this word I don't like, slap yourself. Feel free to hop in, Coyote. I'm in my server. Did I not see your message earlier? I'm sorry. Oh, it's only 2 minutes late. Okay. I'm in my server. You should be able to hop in directly on the streaming chat. No, Neating. My OC, as you call it, is that is art done by my friend Sin, who puts out cursed art all the time. My name actually comes from Transformers.
Hey there.
Hello, Coyote. How are you doing today?
Am I coming in clear?
Yeah, you're coming in clear. I'm already done with the video. I'm just talking about what I think needs to be done here.
Yeah, no, I've watched probably about the last 20 minutes. I was just taking care of some stuff while I listened in on my phone until I could get my computer. So I kind of got the gist of what you're talking about right now, I believe. I saw the tail end of the video and then what you've been talking about now.
All right, real quick. Hello, Tony. Glad to see you here. I ordered Wave 1 of Action Force, and my wallet hates me for it. Go ahead, Coyote.
I just wanted to say I understand what you're putting down here with like talking to advertisers and stuff like this, but one of the things that you said that which is that YouTube makes money, that actually it is true that YouTube operates at a deficit, though. The reason why it's still a venture that is still able to be pursued is because it's owned by the parent company of Google, and Google makes enough money to offset that deficit. And not only that, it's a worthwhile venture because they control a lot of the social landscape, in this whole social media driven world that's starting to exist these days. So one of the reasons I think, if I had to guess, I mean, I'm not a mind reader, I don't know why Mama Max chose to go with a hashtag, but I think one of the reasons why they went with a hashtag is because making a ruckus on that social landscape that they're invested in is, to them, a very clear way of getting the message across. Again, I'm not a mind reader, but that's just my interpretation of things.
Real quick, Jennifer Simmons, 499 Super Chat. Thank you very much. Hello, I love your work. I don't know why. What frustrates you the most about this? A few things. If we're talking about the situation in and of itself, YouTube's inability to properly regulate has always been an issue for me, because I'm the type of guy that if I want to get something done, I'm going to do it right. I'm not going to halfway do it if I can help it. If it's about how Max went about this, you don't. People are breaking this down to an either or, to where you could either have the hashtag or you can protest physically. You can do both. So why not do both? Why not organize that? He's got a large enough audience. He should be able to do something with that. Even if he's not the one heading it, he can do what I struggle with and delegate. As far as what
one of the problems...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, one of the problems is that yes, he does have a very large audience and he has a very large reach. I assume we're talking about Mama Max here.
We are.
Correct?
Yes.
All right. Well, one of the problems is that, yes, Mama Max has a very large audience and a very large reach himself, but when you factor in that other creators with much larger audiences like Keemstar, who even have direct contacts at YouTube who speak to them regularly, even they face a lot of pushback from these sorts of situations when they cover them, to the point that some of their videos get taken down. They still get strikes. It's very much more complex than I have big numbers, because we've seen people with even bigger numbers and more pull still have to suffer consequences from this, even if it's not really right, wrong, fair, or unfair, No,
I get that, but my point was large numbers in terms of doing like physical protests and whatnot and organizing them.
Well, that's also fair, but we also don't know where exactly, geographically, all of his audience is located. They're not probably located in one central location.
True, but you can still organize with other people. Heck, we do it for conventions all the doggone time. Let's see here. Lio telling someone not to do something, that won't stop them. No, but you're scared of living daylights out of them. It's a deterrent. So.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, though. If you could finish your point.
Sure. What frustrates me about the Mama Max videos, specifically a lot of the replies, because the reason why I initially saw it was because Nicholas Diorio was raising a stink about it. Being very passive-aggressive, saying, why is this hashtag going? What's he even talking about? Instead of just looking at the video and then responding properly. And, of course, I find the majority of the commentary community's take on it asinine. They lack nuance, they lack paying attention, which is something I'm sure you've seen them struggle with constantly. So they're coming at Max with all this anger, with all this frustration, when they don't show it to people who are being dumber and about worse things. And that frustrates me on a personal level, because that tells me where their priorities lie. It's a hilarious pick. Looks like Garfield, because it is. It's basically a Trey's Garfield with my assets on it. Do you agree with me about this? Let me go see what you said. I wrote down... hold on. Real talk. Imagine being against zoophiles and pedophiles from really asking for help to Shane Dawson. I disagree with Mama Max asking for Shane Dawson's help, and I've said that previously. Go ahead, Coyote.
Personally, as I've barely, like, not barely, I've loosely been like monitoring the situation, like trying to pay attention to it. From what I can tell, people like Nicholas Diorio and a lot of the mainstream commentary community, that exists now, I think one of the issues that they're having, and this is again, this I'm not in their head, this is my guess, is that it seems it's very much another boy who cried wolf situation. At least that's the perspective that they're operating under. Because we remember the Matt's what it is situation. And thing is, there was also the whole Instagram wake up that some of those people like Nicholas Diorio and Augie RFC and Bo Blacks are aware of, which happened like very quickly after. And those two seemed to be very mishandled at best and just completely insipid and asinine at worst. So it's one of these things where from a lot of people's perspective, this situation has happened before, and they're operating under the assumption that this is the same thing over and over again. I mean, again, this is just my guess. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt on that one. I'm not assuming that they're bad people who just want to like fucking save their pocketbooks. This is just my guess.
Um, I understand your value. Let me go ahead and put you on screen. I keep forgetting to, but I'm at the point when it comes to corporations like the one Susan runs and like Google is. Um, I give them no benefit of the doubt. I don't because
I just want to clarify. I'm giving the creators
Oh,
who are
okay.
saying negative things about this the benefit. The corporations, I am not. I'm specifically referencing the commentary community and creators being critical of this particular hashtag and stuff like that. The benefit of the doubt, simply because I know I've seen what they've like looked at in far as in terms of like hashtags like this. I understand why they would be hesitant to support a hashtag of movement like this based on what I've seen in the past and what they've covered in the past. That's what I'm saying. I'm not giving corporations the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving the creators the
Okay.
benefit of the doubt if they're being critical of this.
Gotcha. I'll go ahead and actually use that to segue to my next point. Um, I think Mama Max could have done this in a more transparent manner, for lack of a better word. What he could have done and should have done is behind the scenes talk to these larger creators he just called out. I know he tried to with Corpse, and Corpse blew him off because, Corpse, again, don't like or trust him. These other people he mentioned, I'm pretty sure he could have gotten a hold of. So why not pursue that first and try to get their backing off the bat? And that would avoid 90% of the criticism he would have gotten thrown his way later on, because it would have had more people backing him. They probably would have gotten their heads together and had a more reasonable reaction, and maybe had something a little harder go off the ground. Granted, hindsight's 2020. It's real easy to sit here on the outside and say, "Well, as I smoke my non-existent pipe, I believe he should have handled it like this." But going forward, that's sometimes the best way to handle things like this. Like I said to the commentary community via the video I uploaded, 90% of the interpersonal issues would be solved with a doggone 15-minute phone call. Did you see Max's interview on the Half Base podcast? No, I didn't, because I don't watch that.
I saw about 10 minutes of that. I still haven't fully digested it yet. So I can't really answer any questions about what he said on the Half Baked podcast. I'm just addressing whoever asked that question. As far as what you had to say, I'm not Max. I can't answer that question. That's not something I would be privy to. All I can say is that evidently he did speak to several creators and they were in this video. Turkey Tom also confirmed on the Half Baked podcast that he reached out to, himself and many other creators as well. So I can only imagine that there were probably other creators that he reached out to for this video who were not in this video because maybe they didn't respond, maybe they declined because they didn't want to be involved. I don't know. I don't know the goings on with that. But from what I can tell, there were a lot of people reached out to. A lot of them said yes, and a lot of them, I don't know the answers to why they said no or if they even said no. So
Let's see here. Nick Cage says Mama Max did go on Vosh. Not a fan. I think that was bad optics, but whatever.
but yeah, that's kind of my only that's my understanding of the situation there. I mean, I definitely agree that if he didn't, and this is assuming he didn't reach out to any of the people like Keemstar or H3H3 or bigger channels with a lot of pull at YouTube as a corporation, like they can talk directly to them, like channels like that size, because those channels exist. We've seen Keemstar talk with these kinds of people at YouTube, even have conversations with Susan Wojcicki herself. Same thing with Ethan from H3H3. We know they have those connections. So if he didn't reach out or for some reason couldn't, I don't know why. If he did, I don't know why they remained silent until after the video came out. Like, these are things that I simply don't know. But from what I can tell, though, he did try to reach out to a lot of people.
Hmm.
So,
Well, maybe some people need to learn to be a little more reachable. Now, granted, I know that's a double-edged sword. I frankly had to deal with that, and I'm a much smaller creator because sometimes you create too open a line of communication, and people get really freaking stupid with you.
oh yeah, for sure. Also, what's up, Cass? I see you in the chat. You know that I'm going to be trying to get in on your stream on the first. I saw that was announced. I'm going to try to get in there. You better let me in.
Oh, what's Cat streaming about?
Apparently, this too.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you have my take, so I don't really need to be there. I've got stuff I'd like to put out instead, but here I am, as always, yelling at people being dumb.
Yeah, I'm still trying to follow along with this situation, and I'm glad you actually let me on here to help like talk about it with you, or at least give my opinion on it and stuff like that with you, because I like to get other perspectives on these situations, and I'm hopeful that Cass is willing to let me on his stream, and then after that, I'm probably going to be doing a stream of my own, and you're welcome to come on there too if you'd like.
I appreciate it, but it all depends on, of course, what I've got going. You know how absurdly busy I am. I'll probably be doing a stream tomorrow just to end out the new year and to see if anybody's going to be dumb enough to show up and fight me over it, because that'd be fun.
All right. Well, what else, I guess, was there to talk about with this video?
Well, I think that YouTube has a lot of problems with their consistency on their rules, with how they manage, and it's got to be addressed. Because if it's not, sooner or later, something's going to happen, and it's going to be so horrendous, so terrible, YouTube can't just ignore it. Or somebody's going to lose their goddamn mind and be successful next time. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Those of you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a really consistent problem that seems to be coming up, not just with YouTube, but like every social media outlet, really. Like, Twitter, Twitch, virtually any outlet you can think of, TikTok especially, God, where children are just placed at a huge amount of risk from God knows who. And it's one of those things where we need to find some kind of workable solution fast, because it's not getting better. If anything, it's getting worse. It's just it sucks. It sucks that this even exists. This shouldn't be a fucking thing,
Well, the problem is any solution you're going to come up with is going to have other problems of its own. Like, I could easily say, well, let's just make it where you cannot get an online profile of any type until you're 18. Well, how do you monitor that? You can't, unless you do one of two things. Number one, require identification, which no, or two, they have to verify another way, which requires some form of identification, and it's a double-edged sword, because if you don't require identification, well, obviously kids can lie. Kids are the worst people when it comes to protecting their own safety. I mean, how many times have we had people show up under the age of 18, heck, even above the age of 18, who give us a ton of random information about themselves without being prompted and for no reason?
Way too many. I mean, I don't think I can even count that high.
I think part of the problem is a lot of parents just let the internet be a babysitting service. And before we get too deep in this, I want to be aware.
It's the new Benadryl, right?
Yeah.
It's the new $10 babysitter. They set an iPad in front of their kid instead of knocking them out with Benadryl, then go have a time of their lives for the night.
Yeah, but before we get too deep into that, I want to be very clear. I'm not blaming the children for what's happening to them, because I know some idiot's going to see this and they're going to respond like that. So let me cut you off here, Chief. No, I'm not blaming the children. I'm saying the parents need to do a better job of keeping up with modern tech and keeping up with what their kids are doing and monitor their activity. And you can monitor in a way that is not invasive of what privacy the children have. When I was online as a teenager, my parents knew what website I went to. They knew what I was doing. They knew how to track it via history. They knew all the workarounds. They knew all of that stuff. But parents nowadays don't seem to keep track of it. And they should, because the parents now are my age. They should understand how these things operate. They should understand about chat applications. Well, what's Discord? Discord is a mixture of something like of old school IRC and Skype. It's not hard to explain. They just got to inundate themselves with it and get to the grief about what these things do. Midhart says, I know I was really bad at it when I was young. My channel used to have my full name and such, but I never lied about my age, which didn't stop me from being a target. Yes.
One thing that I think is worth noting is that whatever solution people come up with, it's never going to evade the problem of freedom versus safety, which is it's a problem that's existed even predating the internet. The freedom versus safety problem, because the more safe things get, the less freedoms people have, versus the more free people are, the less safe they tend to be. And that's kind of where you're getting with the internet itself, where it's just like, well, the more we actually make it so it's safe, like so kids wouldn't be preyed upon, the less freedoms people are going to wind up having here. Like, there's going to be more restrictions on how to create accounts, on who can even create accounts and things like that. And whatever answer you get out of this, you're going to wind up falling into that problem of freedom versus safety. And it's one of those things that most people hate having freedom taken away, but most people also want to be safe. So you're never going to please everybody with whatever solution you come up with. And it's a really difficult problem to be in, because even in the real world, like taking internet completely out of it, we still haven't solved that problem in almost any regard when it comes to almost any subject you can talk about. So this is just another point where this problem, the freedom versus safety problem, is now coming into play, because the internet's become so ingrained in our society, like the way society works. And the fact that we're now facing this problem, and it's children that are paying the price for us not having an answer, it's a very difficult position, and we need to come up with an answer fast. That's my position.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see how this all plays out. Just like always, this is bigger than both of us. So,
yeah,
despite,
and
despite
honestly,
your channel blowing up.
well, yeah, I mean, that's honestly one of the reasons. Another reason I could see the hashtag being justified, because it creates a conversation about this particular issue, which I think is very important. It's a great first step towards finding a solution. It's only a first step. It's not a solution in and of itself, but a hashtag in a social landscape like Twitter, like YouTube, that is a good way to get a conversation started, and that's a good first step to finding a solution. So in that regard, I do think using a hashtag is a good answer to getting the conversation started. It's not a good answer to to having it be the solution. It can't be the solution, but it's a good answer to starting that process.
It could be, but again, the problem with the hashtag, its ability to be abused, because there's no way to control it. Real quick here, White Wing says, these are the only live streams I watch. I don't know why. Opal says, I wonder if there could be school internet where only children, parents, and faculty be on through school emails. Still easily subverted. I know how many programs that can't be used without a school email. Yeah, but they can still access the regular internet. Safety doesn't limit freedom. Well, it depends on your definitions. Using safety as a means, an excuse of imposing oppression is to a point.
Grim, I understand what you're saying, but you understand what I'm saying too. I mean, I'm not gonna start arguing the semantics of the point that I'm trying to make. I think the point that I'm making in and of itself is fairly clear what I'm trying to say. I don't think picking that apart and trying to nitpick exactly the wording that I'm using is going to be productive in that regard.
Well, I can easily make this quicker, but real quick. We're not here to talk about the Spider-Man film. You can go do that elsewhere. Here's my point. You have the freedom to explore the wild jungle. But if you want to be safe, you probably shouldn't explore the wild jungle, because there's things there that can kill you, and kill you very quickly. So you have that freedom, but you also don't have safety when you do it, because it's not guaranteed. Gonna hop back to the beginning? Good luck, Jared. It's a ride. Break up the companies. Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that there's a lot of components that need to be, addressed in this problem. Like, as far as the hashtag and getting a conversation started, that's a good first step. I think, like you said, I do think the bottom line is an important aspect to keep in mind. Like, because nobody's going to give a shit if it doesn't affect their bottom line. And even if YouTube operates at a deficit, there's still some level of income, even if it's still not being completely offset by YouTube itself. But if that bottom line is still affected, they're going to take notice. So I do agree with you in that respect, that is an important component to it as well. I think there's a lot of components that need to be considered, and a lot of things that are just going to need to go into this, and it's going to take a lot of time. But it's a very complex problem, and it's one that, in my opinion, does need to get a solution put in place.
Real quick, if you don't like the fact that we're still going on the same topics, you can go elsewhere. More importantly, again, you and I need to have a conversation. And if you'll notice the tone of my voice, I'm not happy. You have my Twitter. I recommend you go there, because if you don't, it's going to get rough for you. I'm not in the mood to play your stupid little weeb games. So, Dick K says, break up the companies. Here's the problem with that, and it comes from a constitutional standard, a governmental standard. If you say large companies should be breaking up because they're large, you then open for them to do it to smaller companies because the government doesn't have the concept of stop. So what is the defining line there? Is it to where it gets to a certain point? Well, who decides that? Well, the government would have to. And the government's ever going to decide in favor of people. They're never going to. All the government is a larger corporation. It is the largest corporation. They're going to do the worst thing. Every time. That's who they are. That's what they do. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. They're all terrible. They're just terrible in different ways.
There's a reason why there's no such thing as an honest politician. Same thing with corporations.
Correct. But we've been going on for about an hour now, and I do think we've generally covered everything. Any closing thoughts, Coyote?
Not particularly. I do appreciate that you let me come on for the latter half, and I guess everyone watching, you have a good night.
Yeah. You guys take it easy, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
I'm really sorry that